Okey doke.
The joys of live television, everybody.
There we go. There we go. Gwen says she's also joining. I don't know if you guys
Okay.
got that text.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that was something.
That was interesting. Well, we're here. We're live. Welcome, everybody.
I don't know how that happened.
I don't know how it
apologize.
happened either, but we're here, and that's
It's
all
true.
that matters.
It's all that matters.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, we'll wait like 5 minutes, and then we'll just get started.
yeah. All right. How is everybody? We see people.
Jonah, I just changed those two things back to Gwen.
Okay.
Okay.
I see that.
Thanks for that.
Wait, actually, here, can I make one quick edit? Can I just do this, and then... Actually, you know what? I'll keep it.
Okay, listen. I just printed off the sheet, people. Okay, okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We're good. We're here.
All right, we're just waiting on Gwen now, and then we'll just get started.
I just saw Gwen. Oh shit.
And then we'll just get started.
Yeah, I think that's so. All right. So, DJ, you have some news that you wanted to. Oh, there she is. Hi.
Hey, y'all.
Hi.
Hey, Gwen.
Fourth time's the charm here.
There we go.
It is. We've done this like 5 times already today. It's great.
Probably a little too many, but it's okay. We got it working now, so that's all that matters.
It's just great.
Fabulous.
DJ,
all right, go first.
Yeah, so thanks everyone to who's on for joining our second episode of The Rundown. And for those of you who haven't watched our last episode, The Rundown's basically a Meidas Varsity Blue initiative where we talk about the main news events of the week and then just talk amongst ourselves and interact with the chat. So this is probably the most breaking story we'll talk about, and it was revealed, I think, at around 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. that Prince Philip, the husband of Queen Elizabeth and the longest-serving royal consort in British history, died at age 99. And Buckingham Palace announced this earlier today, and it sent shockwaves around the world with politicians, like pop culture stars, and everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I thought he was going to live longer. I really did. I thought he was going to be like the longest serving monarch in America. Okay? That was my envisionment for him and for the rest of the royal family. I think the queen is 100, I believe. Is that?
No, the queen is 94 and he's 99.
99.
So he would have been 100 if he'd lived.
Right, he would have been 100. I thought he was going to live forever, honestly, which I know is like not factual, but like when you're in Great Britain and you're seeing these people and they look vibrant, they look healthy, and I really thought he was going to be around for a long time. But everybody has their season, everybody has their time, and so I think he served the British people well, and thanks to him for his service to his country.
I mean, he was an old guy.
Yeah.
It wasn't totally unexpected, but yeah, definitely sad stuff. TJ, you want to mention the next thing?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I have the next one. So as we all know, gun legislation is one of the most important things in our society right about now. Listen, I think, when we're talking about guns and gun usages and AR-15s, and we can talk about all different kinds of guns, but I think really impactful gun legislation is important. And the president, along with the Justice Department, have announced new gun legislation laws. According to CNN today, the intention of the rule would require that legal components in kits. So we've banned ghost guns, as we know. The kits that allow guns to be assembled from pieces with no serial numbers. And I think that's important. I think a lot of times we're seeing these guns, they're not registered, right? So that we can't really
Absolutely.
catch the criminals. But I just want to point out 5 key things that Merrick Garland did to combat gun violence. Number one, measure the problem of criminal gun trafficking with data, and close the regulatory loophole that contributed to proliferation of the ghost guns. Make clear statutory restrictions on barreled rifles. Apply when certain stabilitating braces are added to high-powered pistols. Now, here's the thing. With this gun legislation, do we think that it's going to impact meaningful change, or do we think that this gun legislation is just another check mark off the Biden administration's agenda?
I do believe it will bring meaningful change. I think it's overdue. I think we need gun legislation. I think it's so crucial, and especially in a time like now. And it's also, especially now that we're seeing more shootings again, gun legislation, especially this one, I think is super important. And I do think this is something that will bring lasting change. Hopefully.
Yeah, what do
Yeah,
you
I
think,
mean,
DJ? Do you think that this? Okay, go ahead, Gwen.
I was just going to say, I am really happy to see legislation um, towards ghost guns, which is obviously like a piece of the gun issue that I feel like hasn't been addressed as heavily as the rest of it, and obviously one that contributes significantly to the proliferation of guns and the gun crisis here in America. So I was really happy just to see that aspect of it and see that being addressed.
Yeah, what about you, DJ? Do you think that this is something that we can all look forward to from
Yeah,
the?
I've actually thought that we've needed these things for years now, and it's good that like a president's actually taking action through his power and that something meaningful is actually being done. Like even with what Biden and all these people are saying is that it's not going to be a full gun buyback program if there was to be gun legislation tried to be passed through Congress. It's
Right.
literally to do universal background checks when people buy guns and ensure weapons like AR-15s in rifles and in weapons of war are not easily accessible by regular citizens. If, for example, they want to make it, which is a good thing because especially since all of the mass shootings and events like that have happened over the past years, that someone like me when I turn 18 shouldn't be able to get an AR-15 on a website without doing a background check. Like
Right,
that's like
absolutely.
that's like, and it's not like they've said, especially since Parkland and since Sandy Hook and all these things, because those were kind of the big things that caused a desire for change. Is since that even happened, it's only been universal background checks and an assault weapons ban. Like it's not a
Right.
complete gun ban in this country. They're just saying if you have a gun, you're going to need a background check, and that you wouldn't be able to buy an assault weapon online.
Right, and I think one of the things that is key. Republicans like to say their Second Amendment right, and we were talking yesterday during the meeting about taking the what was the word that we use? We take morals out of the Constitution. Out of law. The law says you can defend your house. It doesn't say that you can have an entire military base in your basement. There's a very different sense of that. But I just wanted to point out one thing. The president said that reducing gun violence in the U.S. would save money for the country, claiming that it would save $280 billion a year. So if we think about reallocating that money to something else, education, better garbage pickup, etc., these programs that are not getting enough funding, like Veteran Affairs and other programs, would be able to if we stop having all of these mass shootings and people like Marjorie Taylor Greene beating their chest about gun law. Like
I
that would
just
be much better.
I just want to add, I think, like, first of all, it is a huge GOP talking point, the fact that we'll take away, that the Democratic Party is going to take away your guns, which we know is
Right.
simply false. I believe that Biden is a gun owner too.
Yeah.
And he's said while he was running, and he's still saying it now, we need gun reform, but that doesn't mean that we can take that he's not in support of the Second Amendment. I think also oftentimes the Second Amendment is misinterpreted by the Republican Party.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I think that's a huge talking point. They say that we're taking away the guns, which is not true.
Yeah, I don't think we're taking away anybody's guns. I think we have seen so many mass shootings, not just and it really is a thing of how do we make this country and places around the world safer? You know, there are more extensive ways to get a gun in other countries than we do here in the United States. And I think the reason why that is because Republicans have sort of used this Second Amendment kind of, you know, this sort of Second Amendment thing to make it so that people feel like we're taking away guns, and that's just not factually accurate. I'm sorry.
I think the big thing is that uh, shootings, like the Parkland shooting and just school shootings and events like these, at one point were becoming too much of a norm, and I think they still are.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the huge issue, and I think that's something we have to really look at, and that's something that we need to combat, because events like those can't keep happening. That can't be a norm. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree that you can't you like we have seen so much stress and strain and struggle in this country over the past couple of years in gun reform. It's really, excuse me, it started with Bush when he allowed AR-15s back into the country, and so those kinds of policies that were enacted by Republicans and the Democrats try to combat them, and nobody's really working together to figure out a real positive gun solution. And then you've got people like Joe Manchin claiming that, you know, again, we're trying to take away Second Amendment rights, which it just isn't factual. Okay, I'm done.
All right. Oh, sorry.
Do
Go
I want to
ahead.
mention the next thing?
Yeah, I was just
Well,
going
no,
to go ahead. So I was just going to say, so our next piece of news, so in Boston and St. Louis, we have some historic elections. So Marty Walsh was just sworn in as Labor Secretary, and Kim Janey was just sworn in as the first woman and the first Black mayor of Boston. And she declared that she's running for a full term in the 2021 election. And then in St. Louis, the first Black woman, Tishora Jones, was elected mayor. So my opinion, obviously, I think this is obviously very symbolic. I think Boston kind of gets a lot of praise for being a very progressive area, very liberal area. But in practice, like when you look at the kind of redlining and systemic oppression that has existed in Boston towards Black Americans specifically, it's obviously it's not as progressive as it is. I mean, the average net worth of a Black family in Boston is $8. And so I think that obviously like having a woman Black mayor of Boston is just incredibly symbolic and incredibly important. And obviously not all we need to get done. It's just the first step. But yeah, I just really love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. She's not, I believe she's not the only African American woman running for mayor. I think Andrea Campbell, I believe, is also running. But no, Kim Janey is very impressive. I know in terms of just like progressive and moderate, I know Michelle Wu, who's also running, who's a current city councilor in Boston. I know she got the endorsement from Elizabeth Warren recently, which will be super interesting to see how impactful that will be. But I'm also interested to see if Kim Janey will receive an endorsement from Walsh, because I think that honestly will be more impactful than an endorsement from Elizabeth Warren. I know.
Yeah,
so that's interesting. Why do you feel like that would be? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say quickly. I think it's time for African American voices and African American women's voices to be heard. Unfortunately, we haven't had a Black woman governor in any state all across the country. So I think that is it's a paradigm shift that absolutely needs to happen. I'm sorry I cut you off there. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to
No,
follow up on what Jonah said. Like, why do you feel like Marty Walsh's endorsement would be more valuable than Elizabeth Warren's?
yeah, no, I think they both be very valuable. I think just a couple things about Marty Walsh is he's a moderate Democrat, which I think I honestly, even though Boston might seem pretty progressive, and I'm not denying that parts of it is, I think a moderate Democrat is really, really appeals to,
Yeah.
and also Marty Walsh being a very well-favored Democrat. And another thing that I wanted to add is the fact Kim Janey's background, that I believe she was a city councilor from the 7th district, which is a very diverse district. I think that covers, I don't know how familiar you are with Boston, but it covers like areas like Roxbury and stuff. But then it also covers, so I think it's a very diverse district financially and socially, economically and socially. And I think in endorse, I don't know if you're familiar, but Ayanna Pressley also, that's her district too. So Kim Janey may receive an endorsement from Ayanna Pressley also. But I personally just think that Marty Walsh is a more respected or more well-liked in Boston because he's more moderate than an Elizabeth Warren, who would be more progressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay. So can we talk about Matt Gaetz for a second?
Let's do it.
Just for like a few seconds, we have just a couple of Matt Gaetz things. Matt Gaetz actually allegedly asked for a preemptive pardon from the Donald. And also, it came out today that that he is actually under investigation in the House ethics probe over these allegations. Can I just? He's going to be speaking this weekend at Mar-a-Lago for women's rights. Okay, and I don't know who, in what fraction of their mind, thought that he would be the best candidate for that job. Um, I don't know who
Oh, bye, Gwen.
said, by Gwen, I don't know who told him that he would be good for the job. I don't know if he got a boost from the president, and said, hey, let's have you at Mar-a-Lago speaking about women's rights. And it's alleged that he now is uh that he had sex with a 17-year-old girl and then paid her on Venmo. Who in their right mind would ask Matt Gaetz to do anything for women? Go ahead.
No, yeah, he's a freak. There's no question.
And he was the only person that voted against a sexual harassment bill in the entire Congress. Okay?
Yeah.
If we can be bipartisan on one thing, it is on sexual harassment. And you see him being the no vote, and his excuse for being the no vote wasn't a good one. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was just going to add that you also see people like Marjorie Taylor Greene posting videos saying, I'm on his side. Like that's
well,
I mean, she doesn't surprise me anymore, but yeah, it's crazy. And it's scary. I definitely agree with you that it shouldn't, that both sides should believe that sexual assault and sexual harassment is an issue. I think it's
yeah.
Yeah.
According to the New York Times, it's unclear whether or not Gaetz was aware of the investigation when he asked for the pardon. So I want to put that into perspective. You ask for a pardon, and you don't know you're under investigation. So have you committed any other crimes outside of the sex trafficking that we're aware of? But DJ, you were saying in the meeting earlier that there was also some campaign finance laws that were violated. Would you like to explain that to us?
Well, I don't really know what specific campaign finance laws were violated, but part of this is specifically in the House Ethics probe, and I'm sure this will come up in criminal investigations he's being sought after in, but that he paid these confidants and victims that he sex trafficked across borders of states, minors, through campaign funds, which is not only unethical, but it could be borderline illegal if that comes to be. Like, even, like, I know this has come up, like, not even specific to Matt Gaetz, but, like, these people who have been accused of these things, some people just try to take the easy route and say, oh, why don't we just censure them? Like, why don't we censure them instead of doing any real action, which is this is one of the gravest offenses you can do, especially as an elected official.
Absolutely.
And, like, on that topic, like, Nancy Pelosi, even after the...
Oh, man. DJ, we just lost you for a second.
Hold on. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Like, Nancy Pelosi said after Trump got acquitted for the second time, which that's a conversation for another day. But she said literally a censure's for people who use stationery for the wrong purpose, not someone who obstructs justice, abuses their power, and sexually traffics minors. Like, that is nowhere near a grave enough punishment for someone like Matt Gaetz.
Right, and I think also, and I hate to bring this name up, but we got to look at people like Andrew Cuomo, and I think for the Democratic Party, we're going to have a difficult time gaining people in the middle of the country if we don't address Andrew Cuomo. If we become the party of let's point the finger and not address it here, that's going to show with people in the Rust Belt. It's going to show with people who are Republican-leaning independents. It's going to show. I think we've got to call the hypocrisy out on both sides. I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
Well, no, it's okay. I was just going to add, which is, I know I've said this before, which is why I believe that there should be an investigation on Andrew Cuomo before anything happens. But the fact that how many women came out?
I think it's like 4. I think it's like at least 4 or 5.
Yeah, once you get to one, I think then you should.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. One accuser is enough to have an investigation. Like, even with Brett Kavanaugh, like, one person is enough to have an investigation. Like, even if it happens, like, you should not just say, like, it's just such a tricky subject. Not tricky, but it's just such a pain that we have to deal with our elected officials.
And like, I've always, he was once dubbed America's governor, right? He was the one that was giving the COVID briefings, and we were listening to him and his voice of reason in times of the pandemic. I think right now we cannot be the ideologue and not.
Yeah.
We've got to be able to say that's wrong. It took Kristen Gillibrand 3 weeks to come out against Andrew Cuomo, but when it came to Brett Kavanaugh, it was 2 days after that.
Well, so even when on the topic, sorry to interrupt, but on the topic of Kristen Gillibrand, like, when Al Franken was accused, when he was in the Senate a few years ago, she was like one of, like, they served together in the Senate. And she was one of the first people that said, Al, you need to step down. And, like, she put immense pressure. So it's just because someone's not on the federal level, the crime is still grave. Like, it should be.
A crime is a crime no matter what. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think there should be more pressure than there are. Like, I know that Cuomo's getting a lot of pressure, but I definitely think that there's an investigation should be put forward. I'm also just curious, because even with stuff going on like this, I don't know how much of a future Cuomo has in politics. Like, I know he's older, but
I do believe he was rumored to be thinking of a presidential run, but any hopes of that is gone.
Yeah.
I think that was also That was 2016 too. I've heard rumors
Yeah.
since 2016.
But like on top of it, after all this, there's no way. There's no way that half of the Democratic Party
and I think events like these, like we've seen politicians where their career just gets ruined from sexual harassment, and we've also seen politicians that it doesn't impact their career too much, like Matt Gaetz, because his party doesn't care.
With the grab him in the blank tape, and then he still became president.
Exactly. There's like footage of him saying that. It's absurd. Yeah. No, it's crazy. All right, you want to go to the next topic?
Yeah, I'm just going to lead into that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh wait, DJ, is this you?
Hold your horses. So yeah, now on with the vote, total switch of topics. We're now on. We're now on voting. And this kind of came after Brian Kemp signed a crazy restrictive law in Georgia based on voting access. But
I can't believe he used to be my governor, but go ahead. Sorry.
Brian?
I'm sorry.
Wait, Brian, you used to live in Georgia?
Yeah.
Oh,
Brian,
I feel so sorry that you had.
That's how I contacted him, actually.
Wow.
Because of high schoolers for Biden.
Yeah, he used to be my governor, and I met with him on a monthly basis.
Yeah. Well, anywho, the Kentucky governor, a Democrat in a southern state, which is many times unheard of, but it's now coming to be Andy. I have no clue. I'm going to butcher his last name. Bashir. He signed a bipartisan.
That's good enough.
Well, we'll go with it. He signed into law a bipartisan bill. And keep in mind, bipartisan in a southern state means something. Yeah, especially in a state like that. Kentucky is the state Mitch McConnell represents in the Senate.
They have a Democratic governor? That's shocking.
Governor's different, though. But yeah, no, it is shocking. I mean, also, Massachusetts.
But Massachusetts is different.
I know, Baker is supposedly a centrist, but
no, yeah, your point. But anyway, his bill would expand voting access to citizens, and it would codify recount procedures, and there would be an online absentee ballot portal, which is kind of cool with regard to absentee voting, and an online list of early voting procedures. And obviously, this is a hard shift from states like Georgia. And I saw a statistic that 43 states are looking to pass laws to make voting harder or to change from what happened. Not necessarily make it terribly harder, but change it from the heavily vote by mail presence that we've had over the 2020 election cycle, which is unheard of. It's just my whole take on it is that, yes, voting by mail should be made more secure, but we should not be taking that right away. We should not be taking vote by mail away completely. Yes, there were probably hiccups in some states. I'm not denying that at all.
I don't know. I don't even know that. I might disagree with that. It's proven to be extremely effective. And
I'm not saying. Secure. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate with the crazy Republicans who say, but yeah, the amount of quote unquote fraud is
it's like 0.
It's 0.0007%. It's such a minute number, and to say, oh, vote by mail overturned the 2020 election from Trump to Biden, it's just absurd. And I'm everyone should have the right to vote, and voting by mail makes it convenient in this country to vote, especially since Election Day is not a federal holiday.
And there was election fraud to an extent. There were Republicans taking dead people and voting as if they were them. Also, another thing to add, I know this is we mentioned this a few minutes ago, but it just came to my head. Hogan, I'm blanking on his first name, but the governor of Maryland's a Republican.
Yeah,
Larry Hogan, yeah.
I was gonna say Gary.
Yeah, he seems like
It was something.
just on the matter of expanding voting rights. I want to point out the bills that are being enacted by these Republican governors are disproportionately affecting communities of color, right?
Absolutely.
Disproportionately affecting communities of color. And when you have a governor like Brian Kemp, and then you have a I can't remember her name, but she was all over the news because she was at Brian Kemp's office and said, "This is wrong." And the deputy said, "I was afraid of a January 6th insurrection." That's what he said. You've got one person who is a member of the state government asking for a conversation, who is a person of color, and you're afraid of a January 6th insurrection. Give me a break. Seriously.
No, I completely agree. All right, you want to go to the next topic?
Yeah.
In terms of vaccine news, we saw a record of 4 million vaccinations one of the days this week, which is amazing. Just shows you how great of a job the Biden administration is doing. And that he also announces that he is directing all states, territories, and tribal nations to make all adults eligible no later than April 19th. And originally he said May 1st,
Yeah.
which is great, and holds the goal of getting 200 million shots in the arms of Americans within the first 100 days. I think another thing that I just like, I know I mentioned this several times, but it always gets me that like he ran under the campaign of, or ran under the idea of, we're going to get 100 million shots in 100 days. And the fact that he gets things like 4 million shots in one day, and he's already gotten 100 million in like 58 days is so impressive.
And that
Yes.
just goes to show the incompetence in how bad of a leader Trump was under COVID, because after he was like through his whole presidency during COVID, obviously it took time to develop the vaccine. But from the time the vaccine was FDA emergency approved till the time Trump left office, he only got 13 million vaccines out, and that was a period of over 2 to 3 months. Biden,
Operation Warp Speed.
yeah, warp speed, yeah. But it's like Biden got that probably more than, like, he got more than 10 times that in 58 days.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
got more done. He's gotten more done in 4 months than Trump would have done in 2 terms.
And can I just point one thing? I know we want to move on to
Go ahead.
the Supreme Court, but I just wanted to point one thing out. I understand people's concern with getting the vaccine, and I just want to speak directly to those people who have concerns with getting the vaccine. I know a lot of people are making the connection between the COVID vaccine and the Tuskegee experiment. And while I understand that concern, I really do. You know, I just want to point out that we're getting the vaccine. Everyone's getting the shot. It's not just black people. It's not just white people. Everybody's getting the shot. And I think if you feel uncomfortable about getting the shot, talk to the doctor. Get another opinion. Get several opinions from
This is
healthcare professionals.
if you have access, if you have an opportunity to get the vaccine, get the vaccine. Another thing that I want to add too is that there are waiting lists. So not sometimes vaccines, like at the end of the day, you can't keep holding on to them, so they will get thrown out, and there are waiting lists that you can be on to get your vaccine, and I highly encourage you to do so if you can. And I know this is last week's news, but Biden did mention, I don't know when, but or not Biden, Pfizer, biotech, whatever. Biden does everything so now. But Pfizer mentioned that, right, it's safe now for 12 and up. Like they've just done studies, which is excellent.
Right. But here's the thing that I don't want to do. I don't want to dismiss people's uncomfortability with getting the vaccine. I want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable in knowing that if you don't feel comfortable, it's okay. Like I understand that we all want to
I
get.
don't. I kind of disagree. Okay, sorry, keep going.
No, I understand that people. I understand that people, want to get jobs. We want to get back to normal. I get all of that. But I think when certain communities have been targeted as kind of what do we say, lab. I don't want to use the word lab rats, but that's basically what it is. Certain communities of color and low-income communities have been targeted in other healthcare studies. If we look at the story of people like Henrietta Lacks and other people who have just been targeted because of their race, so I don't want to dismiss how people are feeling about getting the vaccine. If you have a serious concern with getting it, talk to a healthcare. I'm not saying that everybody just needs to rush to get the vaccine. I'm saying do the right thing that makes you feel comfortable.
I kind of I agree with that to an extent, but I think at the end of the day, we all want to get back to normal, and these have scientifically been proven that they're helpful, and that they're effective. They're extremely effective in the sense that, like, if you look at the flu shot, that's only like 50% effective. This is supposed to be what, 90%?
Yeah, and then in people 12 and under, it's 100%.
Which is crazy. And I think, I think it's kind of crazy to people who, I understand that there can always be a concern with putting a needle in your arm, but I think at the end of the day, everybody should get the vaccine. Everybody needs to get the vaccine. If that's really the only way we're going to get back to normal, and we need to continue wearing a mask. It doesn't totally make you immune, so it doesn't mean that you're now all free once you get the vaccine. You still need to be wearing masks. You need to follow the CDC protocols. And also, I know this is a little off topic, but just on the note of doctors, just speaking, because I know the Derek Chauvin trial is still going on.
Yeah.
A doctor testified a couple days ago because I know Chauvin's attorney, their main argument is the fact that that Floyd's history or past doing drugs affected his death, which we know isn't true, and that's a bunch of crap. But then the fact that a doctor testified on court today saying, not today, but earlier this week saying that wasn't true is definitely powerful.
Well, and today, the person who did George Floyd's autopsy testified.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And I want to just say, for the Republicans somehow defending this man's death, and really murder, let's just call it what it is, I think you should be ashamed of yourself. When you make a conscious decision to say, no, this is drugs, this was this. We all saw the video. We saw, like, it would be different if we were like in the 1900s and nobody had a camera and we couldn't see anything and we went off somebody. But we saw the video. We saw this man who knew George Floyd prior to this incident because they worked together before at I believe it was some sort of bar or something. They worked together. They knew each other. And I think when you say that this was drugs or it was whatever weird defense they're conjuring up in their mind, it's ridiculous. You need to go back to law school and learn that when you see something clear as day that's standing right in front of you, if the sky is blue, you don't call it orange. I'm sorry. It's like it's right there. And they continue to beat their chests and say, this was drugs, it was this. The chief of police said, that is not the protocol. That is not what we do. And I think if you're a person in this country ignoring what the chief has said, shame on you. I'm done now.
No,
good rant. No, definitely. No, it's the evidence is clear.
It's ridiculous. I don't know what else to say. Like, I don't know how else to defend it. Like, this is someone's life. I feel bad for their family, who has to sit there and watch an attorney defend this murderer that their son, that their um, that their
Father.
father, their
Yeah.
uncle. He has I believe his daughter is 5. Somebody correct me if I got the age wrong. But I like when you watch that and you see them ignore all the clear signs. It's unfortunate that this is not an open and shut case. And I have a problem if you're simply saying that it was because of drugs that he died or it was because he was resisting. There were 3 people on top of him. There was no way he could resist that. Okay? I'm done.
No, I agree. The evidence is clear and that,
Yeah.
without question, Derek Chauvin's a murderer.
Yeah, no.
All right, you want to go to the next news?
Yes.
Okay,
Or do you
So,
want to talk about the SCOTUS?
Sure. You
yep,
you want me to do it or I'll do it? You
I can do it.
who want? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So another more, was it announced today?
This,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe so,
Yeah,
yes.
I can't keep track with all this news. So another piece of news that was announced today was that President Biden, I should say, issued an executive order forming the Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court, which is basically the commission will provide an analysis of the arguments in the public debate for or against Supreme Court reform. And basically what this will do is like not test the waters, but like look at the history of the Supreme Court, look at past reforms that were made, and see will the institution of the Supreme Court benefit from more than 9 judges on it, because that was definitely a topic of discussion on the campaign trail, especially after the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett.
Right. Which was okay, go ahead.
Yep. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. And obviously this commission won't make any like pushes for reform because they're just like an independent commission that's going to just do research and present their findings, and then it'll ultimately be the government's choice. Do we want Supreme Court reform or do we not?
Yeah.
So here's my thing with that, right? Because I think people have been talking about packing, unpacking, going to um, going to Egypt with the Supreme Court because we may have an overnight backpacking trip and we may have to go to Egypt with this court. But I think the Supreme Court has already been packed with conservatives. We see there were 3 justices confirmed under one administration. Okay, is that even has that even ever happened before prior to this administration? I'm
Not
not
to
sure.
my, like not in recent history at least. Like,
Well,
Yeah,
but like at least for when we've been alive, that's never happened. Or like looking back
right.
a few presidents.
But
there,
I do know that Obama tried with
and,
um
and they put.
with
Wait, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. No.
no, okay, we're just good. We're just good.
No,
So I
no.
know that Obama tried with Merrick Garland, but here's the thing, Lindsey Graham. Look at me, Lindsey Graham. Okay, focus here. You are such a
Because he's watching
hypocrite.
this.
I know, Lindsey Graham. Look at me right now. You're
He
such a
flip flops.
hypocrite.
He
You
literally.
said we said what like 5 years ago, saying when there is well, it wasn't even that long. When there is a turn of an administration, you should never support a Supreme Court nominee. And then you say on national television, let's get Amy Coney Barrett in. Like I don't know what's wrong. Focus, Lindsey.
I just wanted to add that he also said, "Use my words against me." I mean,
Well, that's what we.
it's crazy. He flip flops, and he's done that through his whole campaign. And I think that was also that's how Jamie Harrison ran. He's like,
Yeah.
I will give you something straightforward. I will give you a definitive answer. If you want a leader, or if you want a senator who's not going to follow what they say, is not going to, and it is not going to obtain by the rules, then don't vote for me. It's absurd.
Lindsay, you've got to get your story
I have
straight,
so much
okay?
hate for Lindsey Graham. Oh my god.
No, but I think, okay, no, I'm going to say this, and it'll be really nice that I say this. I think after John McCain died, I think that Lindsay felt without a home until he went
Mm-hmm.
to Donald Trump. And I think that really switched his dynamic. You sold your soul to the highest bidder, okay? You said, I made a conscious choice to now support a bigot, a racist, a sexist, and a xenophobic man.
And you have other. I mean, there's got to be something going on that we're just not seeing, because you have other Republicans like Ted Cruz, where Donald Trump has like made so much fun of his wife, of himself. Like he's made
He
it's absurd. They
accused,
bash it. Trump has bashed them, and then they just come up as the biggest suck ups.
not to mention that Trump said Ted Cruz's father conspired with Lee Harvey Oswald in the killing of JFK.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
and then you turn around and let's create an insurrection. That'll get people riled up. You're like, who does that? Like, what is their motivation? I mean, is it about a political future? Because let me tell you, this has become the party of Donald Trump. And if you want to become president, the next in modern history now, you've got to step up to the bigot in chief.
They're not conservatives. This isn't the conservative party anymore. This isn't the party of
Oh boy,
moral
I put a
values.
filter.
Oh, are we doing that?
DJ, during my rant, you put on a filter. Come on.
Yeah, no.
I hit the wrong
I thought I was on Dancing with the Stars with Sean Spicer. I was gonna do my little. I was gonna have a little. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that nothing about the Republican Party is conservative anymore. Nothing about it. They're literally, like you said, TJ. They're the Trump Party. There's no. It's either Trump or not. They get bullied if they think otherwise. Like you literally, like someone like a Lisa Murkowski who has some integrity, and someone like a Pat Toomey with some integrity, or a Mitt Romney.
Don't say Mitt Romney. No.
No, I mean
but like
but Mitt Romney, I can fairly say that Mitt Romney loves America.
He was looking to be Secretary of State.
I'm not saying
with Donald Trump.
No, I think you can. Okay, but you said Susan Collins. You've included Susan Collins earlier, but not Mitt. I think it's fair to call Mitt Romney, even though I don't think Mitt Romney's perfect. I think the best way to put it is that you almost think Mitt Romney's good, but then you realize he's Mitt Romney, and that's the best way.
And like I've always said that the problem with Mitt Romney and Hillary Clinton in 2016, I didn't feel like they loved people. Like there was just something about them that was just like
about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I felt like she didn't like people, and I think
I want to disagree with that. I think even throughout her time in politics, and even like when she was the first lady, when Clinton was president, she's been dehumanized for so long. She's always been dehumanized,
and because she's just a woman.
That too. No, but also, even when she was under Obama's administration as a secretary, like she's always been felt dehumanized, and I think something about, I don't know what, but Trump made so many promises that he didn't ultimately, like he says things and then he doesn't pursue them, and we obviously
I think that was the downfall of Hillary Clinton. I think that she, like when you see Barack Obama, he can play basketball, he can do things with other, like he was a people's purpose.
He was able to effectively humanize himself. That's the reason why someone like Reagan was able to, like Reagan came to office right after like the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War was very like people being supportive of the Vietnam War. It was like a Republican idea, and it became that majority of Americans did not support the fighting in Vietnam. And then you have, I mean, I know Carter comes, but then after that you have Ronald Reagan, which is only like, Reagan comes, I think, in 1980, which is only like 5 years after Vietnam. And I think part of the reason why is because Reagan had a booth coming into it like as an actor, but he was also able to really humanize himself, and he used elements of like comedy and stuff. And that's why he got elected.
The one thing
there's other things too, but
Yeah, no, go ahead, DJ.
No, you can go ahead, because I was just going to say it's been an hour and we don't want to keep ranting on Instagram Live.
I think now is good.
I was just gonna close with this on the issue of the election. This also to the President Biden. I've heard over here that you're thinking of running for another term. Okay, focus here, Joe, because I know you're watching. Focus here.
All right, no. Let's not talk. I think. Can we?
I think if he does, fine. If he doesn't, I just say give somebody else a chance, because by that time you'll be 80-something. Okay.
Age doesn't matter. It's the age of your ideas that matters. And Marky.
Amen.
But one thing I want to add though is that, just to conclude, is that Arkansas state legislature, or the governor Hutchinson, he vetoed the bill. Thank the Lord, and he's a Republican governor, which is pretty surprising. But then right after that, the state legislature is overriding the bill. But I think now's a good time to conclude it. Thank you all for coming. TJ, sorry for cutting you off on your rants.
No, I was good. I can rant more on Twitter. It's fine.
I know you can.
It's like I can rant more on Twitter.
But it's been good. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.